It is the 23rd of March 2023, the third month of this year, essentially meaning that we're chewing into the first quarter of this year, and quickly at that. And thank you very much for choosing to take your time to begin your day with us right here on the Morning Drift, but most certainly at Lookuptv. We are online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms, on YouTube at Lookuptv, Facebook, on Twitter as well, on Instagram as well. This morning, we'll quite appreciate if you join us and like and subscribe so that you're part of the entire Lookuptv family. There's a lot that we have planned for you today in terms of people discussions. Today, it is a Thursday, so we talk about your health. And so what we're going to do this morning is introduce a nutritionist to you who's going to tell you about what you need to know about preparing your simple startup meal for the day. I'm talking about breakfast. Looking so much into that and much more that's going to come. But then even as we talk about what's going on in the country, a few areas that we have to look into. Number one, we do know that the Azimio coalition has made pretty a fact that indeed as from next week now, we do expect 2 days of mass action in the country, and they're calling it peaceful demonstration. Number one, they're pushing for the opening of IEBC servers, reducing the cost of living, and to stop what they're
Nairobi County. Are you ready for the biggest TV roadshow? Lookuptv, the fastest growing family entertainment channel, will be coming to you live from your estate starting on the 30th of March to the 2nd of April. Our caravan will be transversing through the following routes: 30th March, Amboseli Gardens, Lavington; Reruta Satellite, Dagoretti Corner, Kibra, Langata; 31st March, Jogoo Road, Makongeni, Hamsa, Pipeline, Tasia, Donholm, Buruburu, Umoja, Kayole. 1st April, Juja Road, Pangani, Mlango Kubwa, Mathare, Huruma, Kariobangi, Dandora, Babadogo, Mathare North. 2nd April, Thika Road, Kasarani, Mwiki, Kahawa Sukari, Zimmerman, TRM, and finish it off live in the CBD at the Nairobi Archives. We are welcoming partners and sponsors to take advantage of this high energy, experiential and promotional opportunity to push your sales and brands in Nairobi. To book your slot, contact us now on 0110-430-158 or email us sales@lookuptv.co.ke. You can also interact with us on all our social media pages and get the latest news updates on our website, lookuptv.co.ke. Welcome on board.
Japo wana ari ya kuendelea na elimu.
That process nikapata mimba. Nikiwa form 2 because nili drop out.
Mahangaiko ya kupata sodo yameweka kwenye njia panda.
This man hawata kupatia pesa for free. So inafikanga point hata wanakunyima hao. So you'll have to beg in that you have to sell yourself and upewe pad.
Ni kilio cha wasichana wengi hasa kwenye mtaa huu wa Kibera.
Pesa zake hata kupea pesa nyingi. Ni tu za ili usilale njaa. Sometimes hauna pads, sometimes hauna nguo ya ndani.
Basi kwa uhondo kamili,
alikuja akaniacha, nikalea mimba peke yangu.
Usikose makala ya adhabu ya hedhi na Sami ya Dika, Jumapili tarehe 26 mwezi huu.
A man, a symbol of strength, power, and leadership.
What does it take for a man to meet society expectations of provision and leadership?
Lazima uwe mtu wa bidii, lazima ukija kuwa lazima uwe ni provider, wewe ndio unatoa kila kitu.
In our weekly episode of Born a Man,
kusurvive kwa shule ilikuwa ni noma. Yeah, getting something to eat, but especially in my last 2 years ilikuwa ngumu sana.
Moving from State House Road to Kahawa Ndani, where they came back to be hosted.
we embark on telling stories of what it takes to become a man in today's society, like it has never been told before.
I know men, we are cowards. Because tunaambiwa watu ati kufa kimwanaume. Kufa kimwanaume, that's nonsense.
This is the life of a man.
Welcome back. Let's look at the news this morning, where religious leaders have continued to mount pressure on our President William Ruto and Azimio leader Raila Odinga to dialogue for peace in the country. The revered Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops told off the Kenya Kwanza regime to avoid chest thumping and also reached out to the opposition to soften their stance on the Kenya Kwanza government strategy.
Azimio and government protests have continued to receive criticism from different stakeholders in the country. While addressing the media in Nairobi during the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops, the clergy emphasized on the need for the opposition leader Raila Odinga and President William Ruto to have a dialogue for the sake of the country.
We also invite Honorable Raila Odinga to accept dialogue for the good of our country. We believe that by sitting and dialogue can resolve this dangerous standoff. The two need to establish a common ground to address the ills facing the country and restore the sanity we need.
The bishops condemned both sides, the opposition and the government, for being against dialogue, stating that them chasing may plunge the country into chaos.
There cannot be a good reason to resort to the standoff and defiance of our leaders to the detriment of Kenyans. At the same time, the chest thumping from those in government that they will not dialogue with the opposition will not solve the concerns and problems Kenyans are saddled with.
And therefore, we don't expect any difficulty, but if they can reach each other themselves as early as possible, we'll be more than happy. Because they are also worked together, the Right Honorable and His Excellency the President. They've worked together in the past.
The leaders have, however, asked the opposition to obey the rule of law, even as they exercise their democratic freedom to avoid violence.
Demonstrations cannot annul or take over the Constitution. We must respect the rule of law. The only way to avoid chaos and anarchy is always to follow the Constitution and the laws of the land. We therefore appeal to all leaders to pursue the path of peace and dialogue and create a climate and enabling environment where all Kenyans can work and increase productivity.
The injuries and loss of even one life is way too expensive. Kenyans' lives matter.
The religious leader have now called on the Kenyan citizens to avoid demonstrations as a way of maintaining peace in the country. Reporting for Lookuptv from Nairobi, my name is Shadrach Kareria.
Moving on, Jubilee Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni and a host of other Azimio leaders, on a Wednesday served police notice for Monday and a Thursday protest scheduled for next week. The Azimio leaders underscored the fact that all Kenyans have a right to demonstrate and the police should provide security.
After the highly publicized anti-government demos on Monday that culminated into running battles between the police and the Azimio enthusiasts, Wednesday was a beehive of activities for the fold in lining up for another thriller come next week. Azimio luminaries jointly served the Nairobi County Police Commander Adams Bungei to help in facilitating the Azimio march.
They want to be served within the 72 hours. We will do all those things, but not because we want to take away our constitutional rights to do what we should. But it's just because it is important to flow with the time for now.
In a notice addressed to the Inspector General National Police Service Japheth Koome, the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party has highlighted its intent to hold nationwide procession every Monday and Thursday of every week, starting on 27th of March.
We as Azimio are saying we are going to have peaceful demonstrations. We are restraining our members from destroying any property. But there we have members of parliament issuing threats that they are going to invade the properties of Uhuru Kenyatta.
The coalition says it will submit petitions to county commanders and sub-county commanders countrywide for the security docket to offer adequate security during the processions. The coalition has put the police on notice that it will only allow uniformed police to bear arms, as clothes in arms will be treated as hired guns who will then be arrested. This comes even as President William Ruto has held his ground on condemning the demonstrations. Cecilia Lubanga, Lookuptv.
Chief Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has sent a strong warning to all principal secretaries that the government of President Ruto will not allow laxity and laziness in performance of their duties. Musalia has demanded unrivaled efficiency and commitment from each principal secretary as he seeks to consolidate synergy of various ministries to enable President Ruto deliver on his pre-election promises. And as a report Henry Tende now filed, all the principal secretaries have signed performance contracts that will commit them to delivering their mandate.
In a performance meeting with principal secretaries in Nairobi, Chief Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has made it clear he expects nothing but total commitment from men and women President Ruto has chosen as accounting officers in various ministries.
Our resolve is to deliver services to the people of Kenya, and this will only be possible if we embrace and pursue excellence in the principles and values of professionalism, integrity, loyalty, positive work ethics, results productivity, and discipline.
While underscoring the critical role the principal secretaries play in President Ruto's delivery on his manifesto, Musalia has demanded a working synergy among various ministries to drive a unified development agenda.
Conflicts in organizations is a key indicator of lack of discipline and of unity of purpose, which ultimately leads to institutional failure. It calls for humility and servant leadership. It is therefore a matter of urgency to create a good working relationship between the PSS and the CSS as you perform your responsibilities. Instances in the past where disrespect and lack of teamwork between CSS and PSS will not be tolerated.
As accounting officers, you need, as authorized officers, to be responsible, to act responsibly, to be objective, and to align each and every decision in those two responsibilities that will enable government move forward with this agenda in harmony and in a very coherent way.
Past regimes have seen the procurement and service areas in various ministries subjected to unethical behavior, including well-orchestrated corruption. Musalia says the procurement process will be digitized under President Ruto's regime to inculcate a culture of transparency.
60% of the budget goes to procurement. Image and reputation of government is dented by unethical practices, and the MDAs should commit to zero tolerance to corruption. PSS should list key procurement and service areas and projects prone to unethical practice.
Each principal secretary has also signed a performance charter in a bid to eliminate profligacy as President Ruto galvanizes his team to meet his pre-election promises amid protests against his government. Henry Tende, Lookuptv.
President William Ruto has expressed confidence that the economic situation in the country will turn around despite the weakening shilling, while insisting on the importance of developed finance sectors and national development. Ian Kitani reports.
The small thing.
Speaking during the listing of Imara Lab Trust at the Nairobi Securities Exchange, President William Ruto, in what is seen as a dig at Raila Odinga on the anti-government protest, insists that it is the expectation of the government that the Securities Exchange will cash in more profits and compete worldwide.
I am looking forward to days in the very near future when we will be reporting every Monday and every Thursday to be the days that were traded highest in the Nairobi Stock Exchange. My second visit to the Securities Exchange today underscores the understanding that as a strategic actor in the economy, the capital markets fraternity is going to play a central role in supporting our economic recovery in the short term and national socio-economic transformation in the long term.
Ruto has insisted the importance of the finance sector to prioritize key investment among various enterprises in the country to boost the economy.
It is important to appreciate the role of a well-developed financial sector in powering national economic development. The presence of deep and efficient markets is a fundamental precondition for further economic growth. Kenya's financial sector is strong, competitive, and I say vibrant as well.
With the affordable housing program taking shape, President Ruto now says the government is prioritizing the program, insisting that counties will provide land for the houses, with already 11 counties having kickstarted the program.
I've been to various parts of the country spreading the transformational footprint of our affordable housing program. It is our intention to increase the availability of cheap and safe houses so as to plug the housing deficit, which currently stands at about 5 million units. We are already doing the units in 11 counties. We have advertised by 30th of this month another 7 counties, and we are on course to ensuring that we not only meet the 200,000 housing units, but we surpass it.
Land CS Zakaria Njeru, on his part, insisted on the importance of cooperation between the government and key institutions in utilizing free land in the affordable housing program and to attract investors.
The ministry, through the State Department for Housing and Urban Development, has been a key driver of the REITs discussion and has been working closely with the Capital Markets Authority and Nairobi Securities Exchange on development of innovative investment products to support affordable housing. We have also engaged local pension funds to participate in the affordable housing program to help unlock value from their illiquid land assets, and through the program and the capital markets, they can convert underutilized land into profitable, cash-generating developments.
President William Ruto is expected to tour Kisii and Nyamira counties starting tomorrow and is expected to be joined by area leaders. Ian Kitani, Lookuptv.
Moving on, suspected thieves broke into Mwindi Mweusi supermarket in a Tasia estate in Bakassi Monday and stole goods worth 15 million before vandalizing the outlet. The supermarket's operations director, Peter Maguli, says the thieves raided the supermarket at night before vandalizing goods when the staff has already closed the outlet.
empty shelves. This is the dire situation at the famous Mwindi Mweusi supermarket in Tasia, Eastlands, Nairobi. Property worth 15 million Kenya shillings reportedly being vandalized after unknown assailants broke into this supermarket along Outer Ring Road Monday night. The goons raided the supermarket at night after the Azimio coalition publicized their mass demonstration.
So kutoka asubuhi to recruit business kutoka saa 3 ya asubuhi mpaka jioni. But around 6:30 to saa 1 hapo the demonstrations ikakuwa kali sana. At the moment kiendelea wali manage kuvunja na wakaingia ndani ya duka.
The management reports that the assailants pelted stones on the door before gaining entry.
Walivunja mlango na wakaingia ndani ya duka. The moment walivunja mlango, waliingia, wakaanza kuroot items, waliroot vitu mingi sana, wakachukua cash drawers, wakachukua TVs, wakachukua fridges na high valuable items. For the moment tumeestimate around 15 million. Mali ya 15 million imeweza kupotea.
One staff member is also being reported to have been injured during the melee.
Pande wa damage sisi hatuungi mkono. Kitu ambayo tunaunga mkono ni kuandamana kwa njia ya amani. Na polisi pia waache kusumbua raia. Kuandamana ni haki ya raia, hata ukienda kwa katiba iko. Ni kitu kinaruhusiwa.
So far, police have managed to arrest some suspects who are believed to have participated during this looting.
I will wish to confirm that yesterday at around 8 in the evening, we managed to arrest about 15 suspects who had been masquerading as rioters, but instead we found them attempting to break into a supermarket.
Abigail Shira for Lookuptv.
Now, a group of women in Kakamega County has been earning income through making makiga type of bricks. They've helped many of their community members by creating employment to their peers. Phoebe Wangombe with that story.
A group of women in Shinyalu constituency, Kakamega County, have indulged into the work of making makiga type of bricks to enable the construction of houses and water tanks at a low cost to curb the challenge of water shortage being faced in the community. This project aims to bring water closer to residents, also benefiting the whole community with their daily income.
Hii kikundi kilikuja kwa ajili ya shida ambazo walishuhudia katika jamii. Shida ya ujenzi ulikuwa uko juu sana kigarama, na wakaonelea ni kwamba wanataka wapate matofali ambayo ni ya bei nafuu, ambayo wananchi wa kawaida katika jamii hii wanaweza kumudu.
This project was achieved by this community after they discovered that other methods of constructions were too expensive, and if they relied on them, they will not be able to progress as a community. This method is also good because it takes care of the environment and does not cause pollution.
Huu mradi ulipoanza umetusaidia sana kama community ya Kambiri, kwa sababu wamama wanajitokeza, wababa wanajitokeza, wanakuja kwa side wanafanya kazi kama vibarua. Kuna wenye wamelipia watoto school fees, kuna wenye wamenunulia watoto vitabu, wameshona uniforms, watoto wameenda shule, kuna wenye wamenunua hata ng'ombe, kuna wenye wamenunua kuku wamevuka. So ni mradi wenye umetuinua kama wamama na wababa kwa hii community.
Kazi ambayo tunafanya ni ya manufaa sana kwa communities ambazo tunafanya nazo kazi, kwa sababu kando tu na kujenga matenki ya maji, kazi ambayo tunafanya hapa sasa hivi, wale ambao wanafanya kazi katika huu mradi wanaweza pata pesa kupitia kwa kulipa kwa kazi ambayo wanafanya.
It's environmental friendly. Hakuna miti inahitajika kukata ili tuweze kuchoma haya matofali, ni kupiga tu hivyo. Yako na grooves zake ambazo ni joint, unavaisha tu pamoja ukiendelea kujenga.
Through this project, women are being called onto to build themselves and help girls go to school so that they can achieve their dreams like their male colleagues. It has been beneficial to the residents as it has provided employment for many of them.
Jaribu kuangalia the girls because watoto wasichana are very vulnerable. At least vile mwingine amesema hapa kuhusu kikundi yao, watoto wasichana wakibaki kwa darasa watakuwa wameavoid shida mingi. Angalia kama hii kazi ya matofali. Ni kazi ambayo wakishaunda hizo matofali, mama anaweza jenga nyumba yake na watoto wake wakiwa tuna fundi mmoja. Mama na watoto wake atasimama huko apange matofali. So it's not even something very hard even for the women to do.
Phoebe Wangombe, Lookuptv.
Leaders drawn from North Rift have criticized the ongoing security operations in the region. This and more stories from our county news wrap.
Turkana South Legislator John Ariko has accused the security in the ongoing security operation in the North Rift over what he terms as they are not paying stress to the operation. According to Ariko, the 6 schools in Turkana South still have not been opened until now, while the situation of education is being affected. Also, he asked the Ministry of Education to compensate those schools demolished by bandits.
I can confirm without any doubt that there is no operation taking place in Turkana South. KDF are located or they are based in Loyapat, Lobakat Ward. They have nothing to do. They are only fighting the Pokots who are fighting them. Unfortunately, our livestock, my people livestock are being stolen in the watch of government. The government is watching our livestock being stolen by Pokots bandits. I want to ask CS Professor Kindiki, when are you going to operationalize the operation in Turkana South?
And in Machakos County, about 1,000 farmers in Machakos County will benefit from interaction sessions with scientists, researchers, and experts of KALRO to improve their farming techniques. KALRO celebrates its 10th year with interaction sessions of farmers experts ongoing at all KALRO centers across the country.
I want to thank God for our research institutions in this country. They are doing a great work. And when they give knowledge about the soil and the climate, I call upon the farmers to receive that with open hearts. So thank you very much. I know very soon we are doing research, and the government, we are supporting them. And we are also calling our partners to come and partner with us to see how best we can help the farmers here to be food secure. And I know it will work only if we work in collaboration with the scientists and with our development partners.
Finally, light industries in Nakuru County are hoping for electricity taxes to lower as the construction of IPPS in Menengai crater starts. The construction is expected to generate electricity for the flow of the crater with a total generation capacity of 105 megawatts or 35 megawatts each.
This is a 35 megawatt geothermal power plant which is still under construction. This is the owners association with a partnership with GDC who are providing the steam, after which you're going to produce electricity on behalf of GDC and then offtake it to KPLC, who are going now to bill us. So currently we are in a construction phase of a 35 megawatt IPP geothermal power plant.
Gladys Masharia, Lookuptv.
All right, that story takes us to our first break right here on The Morning Drift. Once we come back, I'll be taking you straight to what is trending in your newspapers this morning. Once we come back.
How do women do it? Will the real superheroes please stand up? Welcome to the best show on all things women.
You can.
Now we have to tell you, on our show, we're not just talk. We're mothers, wives, working women, your hosts, and the list goes on. We also know how to relax and have some fun. It's living the life. Yes, it is.
Mtu atavuna alichopanda. That is a law of God. Children
are not like the building bricks where they are made. These bricks, most of the earthen bricks are made in something called a mold.
Tusipague watoto kwa sababu huyu mtoto anafanya vile wewe unataka ama anakufanana.
There is information all over this time in the history. You will Google, you will go where and get information. But the best source of information about how a man should be is the word of God.
Mungu asaidie wa mama tuharibu hiyo kitu ya kusema ati una hate daughter in law.
Hi, and welcome to Tujenge Home. Your number one show when it comes to all things architecture, real estate, property development, interior design. You get it right here on Tujenge Home. When the food is ready.
You want to serve them?
Dinner is served. Yeah. Let's go. Let's go.
Na hii asubuhi yote si hata mtu pigia simu ujue kama yuko. Usiambie Amy mko na ball, usiambie kila mtu mko na ball, sawa?
Si unajua vile mimi najua kunzi. Mwanaume akitafuta kitu hafai kukaa vile anakaa.
Ndio.
Kaa ngumu hivi, unaangalia straight. That confidence ndio nataka.
Mimi niko na shilingi 1000 hapo. Bei ya kulima. Na hiyo gari unanipea 5000 ikukuja na mafuta.
Inakuja na petrol mkubwa.
Mafuta ni wetu unajua kesi.
Beautiful, wonderful, glorious. We are having the show that we share entitled Shepherd Voice.
I'm waiting for you to get me to Kenya. That's what I'm waiting
for you.
God is the source of every blessings that flow into your life.
And I know that God is going to bless you and to do a new thing.
Pray. Pray.
So when the Public Service Commission, in fact, let me not begin like that. Former retired President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta introduced a position that was quite new to the Kenyan Constitution. And the president can do that, you send it throughout, but then this particular position was viewed as the president trying to reward all those people or loyalists who might have in one way or another been quite instrumental in him succeeding in his presidential race. I'm talking about the cabinet administrative secretaries that are domiciled in particular ministries across the government. Well, when he looked at it, he said at least I gotta have one CAS in each ministry. Well, there was an uproar on the constitutionality of this particular position, but what did not happen and what the court termed unconstitutional back then was that this particular CASs had not been the creation of this position had not gone via public participation. Therefore, the courts deemed the positions illegal under law. Good. So we moved away from that, and now we have a new government in place. That is the Kenya Kwanza government. Good. Now, the Kenya Kwanza government has looked at it differently. As well, this particular position has to go through national participation or public participation. And indeed, there was a Gazette notice to the same effect that this particular position was actually going through the constitutionally provided for framework under public participation. Yes, they did go through that. Now, the shocking bit in this particular one, this time around, is that instead of 23, we have 50. That is 27 or more CISs that the Kenya Kwanza government has onboarded in its ministries. Now, that's not even now what we're talking about, because today we do expect that President Dr. William Ruto is going to swear in all the CISs that were appointed by him and interviewed by the Public Service Commission, because the Public Service Commission would operate directly under guidelines from the president. You have a job to do, so I've given you a job. But now, what the president cannot do is ask Parliament to vet CISs, because in a way, the law is not explicit on what Parliament views CISs as. So the law-making entity in the country cannot and will not vet CISs. Meaning, now, two ways you look at it. Number one, they're lawful because the entire process now did go through public participation, but you cannot ask the members of Parliament to vet them on the basis of sticking to the law, because a law-making house has no responsibility in vetting your CISs. So either way, they will be sworn in today. We'll be talking about that later on when we look at even the particular cases that were then launched at the High Court to stop the appointment of the 50 CISs. Good. Let's move away from that now. By the way, if you're just joining us, this is Lookuptv. You are watching The Morning Drift. My name is Simba Kiage. Let's jump then into what is on your day list this morning. And I would like to begin with the Daily Nation, essentially, so we get to look at the bigger headlines that have been covered on this particular one. Number one, the bigger headline here is on a grandstanding rival camps urged to put the country first. Some of the stories that we have covered on our news this morning. This is what they're saying, that will Ruto Raila agree to talks? Now this is it. Religious leaders, including Catholic bishops and Muslim clerics, as well as political and business holdshoulders, yesterday urged President Ruto and Mr. Odinga to dialogue and resolve the standoff. That's what it says. But a headline president has likened the protests to economic sabotage, while opposition chief has raised the stakes. The question they're asking here is, will they sit down? Read that story into deeper details on page 4 and 5. Let me just take you to that particular story, and this is what the bigger takeaway from this particular story is going to be, and that is on page 5 of the Daily Nation. They're saying that there is no reason whatsoever for anyone to stand in the way of a free enterprise, disrupt business, sabotage economic activities, or work on or as an economic terrorist for selfish interests. Such impunity must be dealt with firmly and full accountability enforced to vindicate Kenya's commitment as a free market economy. That is, those are the words of President Ruto, who was at the NSC yesterday. And if you did listen to his comments, he did say that he wishes for days when Monday and Thursday will be the highly traded days at the NSC, but then in terms of volume and turnover. But then essentially, what he was saying, that if this protest then go on, we're not going to, achieve our trade targets on a daily, because we did see exactly how the NSC was a bit unresponsive on Monday once the Azimio coalition and its supporters hit the streets then to demonstrate about the Kenya Kwanza governments. Now this is exactly what the chief executive officer, Anthony Monkey, said yesterday, that is for the NSC, he said that we call for calmness while we are economically, if we are faced with one crisis, we could collapse the economy. We want a stable operating environment. That is the Kenya Association of Manufacturers Chief Executive Officer, Anthony Mwangi, speaking yesterday, right there at the sidelines of the visit of President William Ruto to the NSC. That story, read it in deeper details on page 4 and 5. But here's the thing. Now, let's look at that particular paper as well. Right here on the top of the front page, this is the story that they've said the members are on collusion course of a plan to sell state farms without their nod. And I would like to take you to the back page of the Daily Nation, where that story has been heavily covered this morning again, so we can take a look at it. Now, on the back page, that's where you're going to meet the details of that story. And this is what they're saying, that a showdown is looming in the Parliament over the privatization bill 2023, which seeks to strip members of Parliament of their oversight role in the sale of state-owned corporations. That's what they're saying. And they continue by saying that opposition, Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Coalition Party, which is led by Mr. Raila Odinga, has vowed to resist the bill, setting the stage for bitter clash with the allies of President William Ruto and the Kenya Kwanza Alliance. Now, this is why this particular bill is controversial. You may want to look at it. This is what one Mr. Opio Wandai did say, that the sale of parastatals is meant to help people in the government who have formed companies in Asia, Middle East, and Eastern Europe. But Kitui Member of Parliament, Makali Mulu, said that public assets cannot be sold without the involvement of people's representatives. And I quote him, that I can assure you that public participation will be done, and what Kenyans decide is what will be enacted into law. He said that. So you can actually see exactly why this particular bill is contagious, and why there is a looming showdown in Parliament then, as members of Parliament weigh in on what the effect of passing this into law would be. Read that story on the back page of the Daily Nation. Let's then move into what you're going to meet on page 3 of the Daily Nation. There's a particular story here that you have to read about how social media giant Facebook, or Meta, has been barred from laying off Facebook moderators. And this is the story that a court in Nairobi has barred Meta, the owner of Facebook and Instagram, from laying off its content moderation workforce pending determination of a lawsuit that claims the planned termination is unlawful. It's a big story that is also building up right here within the country. Now, here's the thing, that the numbers of employees that have been implicated in the suit are 43. The number of Facebook moderators in Nairobi who have sued Meta in the Employment and Labor Relations Court after they weren't declared redundant. Also read that story then on page 3 of the Daily Nation. Good. At this particular time, I'd like us to move into the stories that you're going to meet on the Standard as well this morning. And I would like us to start with the first page this morning as well. The bigger headline is pretty much the same as what we've seen on the Daily Nation this morning, but they're talking about how Ruto is now facing a dilemma in handling Raila Amolo Odinga. The headline being, Ruto dilemma in handling Raila. And this is what they're saying. Tough choices as President William Ruto has a decision to make on how to handle the ongoing protests against his government. The options he has on the table means he walks a tightrope as the opposition readies to go to the streets again next week. Read that story on pages 4, 5, and 6. But just on the front page right there, let's see this particular situation that has been described as between a rock and a hard place. Number one, these are the options that President Dr. William Ruto is dancing with. Number one, arrest and prosecute or exile. Now, members of the president's party say the opposition leader should be arrested and prosecuted for demonstrations, but his supporters say it is a right in the constitution. Option 1. Option 2, they're selling it, ignore him. Now they're saying that the president can look the other way and let Raila continue with his demonstrations, but business leaders say the impact on the economy is grave to not stop the protests. All right. Number 3, the option that Ruto is presented with is dialogue, and they're calling on the Azimio leader to table it as an option, but some demands from the opposition puts the president in a catch-22 position. We do know what that is. It's the opening of the servers and also stop the reconstitution of the IEBC commissioners. Now, number 4, the option that Ruto is presented with, the president can invite the opposition leader to government, but creating space for Raila and his team would mean edging out Kenya Kwanza stalwarts, causing infighting. Now, that situation right there has been presented as between a rock and a hard place. Those are 4 options that the Standard is presenting this morning in terms of what the president has, if indeed is going to stop this particular protests. Now, still on the front page right there, just down there. Now, this is what the CS, Agriculture, Mithika Linturi, is saying, is urging Kenyans, listen, that you have to try rice or potatoes instead of maize. And this is it. The Agriculture CS says that the price of maize, yes, will go down in the next 10 days when imports arrive, but is saying just in the meantime, instead of you crying about the cost of maize flour or maize generally, could you please try some rice or potatoes so that it becomes an alternative to the expensive maize meal? And that's exactly, that story has been covered on page 7 of the Standard as well. What do you make of it? Talk to us right here on Lookuptv online, and Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. Now, there's a story here on page 3, and I want us to jump on to page 3 now, that is talking about supplies manager defending 216 million shillings property portfolio. And they're calling it, Ketraco official says he did not receive millions of shillings as kickbacks from contractors, and the anti-graft agency now is seeking to have all property registered in his name and that of his wife and son forfeited. That's a big story right there on page 3 of the Standard. What they're saying that a manager at the Kenya Electricity Transmission Company, Ketraco, has defended his 216 million shillings wealth, saying he acquired it through hard work. His name, Peter J. here, who is a Ketraco supply chain manager, denied amassing the wealth through stealing public funds. He's already accused the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC, of being influenced by people jealous of his wealth. Want to read that story? Then you got to go all the way to page 3 of the Standard. Now, let's look at the back pages of the Standard. This is the ongoing European qualifiers fixtures for those who like sport. Yes, let me just give you the headline here today. England out for revenge as they face Italy. Let me just give you the the fixtures right there. In Group C, we do have Italy versus England, and we'll have North Macedonia and Malta. And then Group H, we have Kazakhstan and Slovenia. There's Denmark and Finland. There's San Marino and Northern Ireland. Then there's Bosnia and Iceland. Then there's Portugal and Slovakia, who actually make Group J. Matches are supposed to kick off at 10:45 p.m. And the bigger news is that one Arsenal defender, that is Ben White, has not been included in the squad for this European qualifiers. A lot of talk about whether there's a rift between him and the national team coach, right? So that's a conversation that I think Ian Kitani, once he comes back Monday, would like to pick when we're going to look at this particular results, because this weekend there's no EPL completely. Now, if you look at that story again on the back page in sports, there's also a story about how Højbjerg says Conte needs to be more precise. As a player criticizing the coach right now, even with talks about how indeed Conte might be doing his last days at Tottenham. It's funny when you read this story where he's saying this midfielder has called on the manager Antonio Conte to be more precise following the Italians' rant on Saturday. That's after Spurs gave up a 2-goal lead in a 3-3 draw at Southampton. Interesting things coming there from Tottenham Hotspurs. Let's rush into what you have on the Daily Nation this morning. Quick at that. Sorry, the Business Daily. Oh, all right. Before we jump into our bigger conversation this morning, top page is how the CBK now has whipped banks to unlock dollars after Ruto warning. And this is what they're saying here. And that story has been covered on the front page, that the Central Bank of Kenya has spooked banks with new foreign exchange code that comes with threats of penalty fines and license suspension for offenders 1 day after President William Ruto warned traders holding dollars to expect losses in few weeks. A big story here, because if you look at exactly what we're doing this morning, and we are going to tell you exactly how bad it is, because current market now is going at around 145, despite what the Central Bank of Kenya is saying. Central Bank of Kenya is saying we should be around 130, 129 off. If you did watch the money market yesterday. So yes, indeed, we're receiving a beating as a Kenyan shilling, but then this particular story is really important, whether this indeed is going to change the dollar shilling situation in the country is still a matter to be seen. And this story here is talking about how banks have to fully comply with the new FX code by December 31st. That is towards the end of the year. So not anytime soon, isn't it? All right, now let's move into I think it's page 3 of the Business Daily as well, as you wake up this morning. Some story that we've covered for you this morning in other newspapers this morning about how President William Ruto has been urged to choose a dialogue. That is a message from bishops to Raila Amolo Odinga, the opposition leader in the country. Now, lastly, last page is on data law that is key to protecting patients' privacy rights. Read that story on how it's prudent that organizations step up their safeguards on their clients' personal and sensitive information. That story right there on the back page of the Business Daily, right? And it's emanating from the Data Protection Act number 24 of 2019 that came into effect on 25th November 2019 and substantially mirrors the European Union's general data and protection regulations, and it's a comprehensive statute that governs the collection, processing, and storage of personal data by both the government and private sectors. Also, that's a very interesting read for you right there to weigh into. All right, that's exactly what you are waking up to this morning in terms of your dailies. Now, you do know, grab a copy. And by the way, these stories here have been covered extensively on our website. That is at www.lookuptv.co.ke. Also, there's a big stories that we're covering on our social media platforms as well. Once you're there, please, a subscription, a like will be much appreciated once you are right there. Well, we don't have anything. We take a tiny breather right here on the morning break. Once we come back, the big conversation then on how Thursdays this morning is going to be for those people who cook, all right? For those people who want to make breakfast. Why is breakfast important? And why do you need to take care of how your plate or your cup looks like? That conversation coming up shortly. We're talking about nutrition, and I'm going to be a student. Hopefully you take your pens and papers out, because it's just about to be a lot of learning coming up once we come back.